Hi, I'm Tom. I do SPS at the University of York, and as part of our SPS seminar series, we're talking to Dr. Shani Orgad about a talk she'll be doing later. The talk you're doing today is called The Others Are Coming. Would you like to tell me what that means, what that's about?
Yeah, The Others Are Coming is actually a quote from the famous, very popular drama Lost, where Danielle Rousseau, who's this kind of hybrid woman who's neither here nor there, comes and informs the survivors, this kind of United Colors of Benetton survivors, American survivors of the plane crash. She comes to warn them, and she tells them the others are coming. And it captured my attention back when it was broadcast. I think it's not accidental that it was very much in the post 9/11 time, where the preoccupation with others, with the big O, and their demonization and vilification in the global media, not just American media, but the global media, has intensified. Of course, it's not new, and what my talk is about, it looks at the ways in which we are invited today as viewers to imagine others in our lives and how it shapes our imagination. And others is a very broad category. My talk specifically will look at what has become commonly now called distant others, others that are suffering in some way, in a humanitarian context, for instance, in natural disasters, and how the narratives of these others as both, if you wish, social pariahs, but also others that we're invited to care for, has changed. So I'm taking a historical perspective, starting at the 18th century, looking at the Lisbon earthquake, moving to very recently the Haiti earthquake, and the kind of changes, both technological but importantly representational, that have taken place, and what do they mean. I also weave in some of my more recent work, which involved not just analysis for presentations, but also interviews with NGOs, humanitarian NGOs, and people like marketing, branding, communications, advocacy, campaigns, fundraisers in these NGOs, and how they respond to and see their work of communicating others or representing others to the UK public here. And I'm trying to actually show how, in very interesting ways, in my view, my understanding and my analysis of media representations and their shift to very individualistic, intimate mode, thinking about the others as our intimate, how this sense of intimacy at a distance, which is an relatively old term from the 50s, which was originally conceived in relation to celebrities and television talk shows, how today victims of hurricanes, victims of war zones, are often coming on our screens and in our media as these kind of intimates, and why NGOs in particular, but also media representations and other media outlets, seem to be so seduced by this intimacy at a distance, and captured by the ways in which they want to project these others to us as intimates. And I conclude by some thoughts about it. I'm not entirely just wanting to kind of bash them for this. I think there are many good reasons to think why they've shifted into this model, but I'm personally also quite alarmed and concerned about it, and I'm trying to raise some critiques about this tyranny of intimacy at a distance in the ways in which we are invited to imagine others today in the global media.
So what's the key lesson that people doing our course can learn from your talk?
I think it's what I say also to my students day in, day out. It is about being a critical viewer / citizen / media consumer, and my own contribution to it, I hope, is to wear these critical glasses when we on a daily basis consume media representation, as well as produce them, importantly, because we're no longer only we never were passive recipients, but we have much more at our disposal today to also contest change in in ways of producing representations. So this is a small but important lesson, because to me representations, again, as I said, are not just text. They shape the way we see the world we live in, the way we treat and think about others, and ultimately the way we think, feel about ourselves.
Thanks a lot, Dr. Orgad.